In the last video, we talked about how to set your goal, and we said that this is actually one of the arguments that some business owners, particularly those that are just starting out, find quite dreading. But it is very important that we set goal. Goal setting basically means going into the future, deciding where you want to go, and then returning back, begin to walk towards it. The difference now is that you know where exactly you are going. Now imagine that you are moving from one city to the next city. You don't just want to take any bus or any direction, because if you do, you are going to end up somewhere. And this is what we are going to be talking about in this video, in how do you map out your 2026 legacy, in that where are you going? You see, some founders don't fail because they lack vision. They fail because they lack a system. You know what you want, the vision. You lack the map to get there. So today, I'm going to be breaking down a three-tier system of how you can move from just your vision into action. Well, my name is Obehi Ewanfoh, and I'm a legacy story consultant, the host of the Obehi podcast, and also the founder of Aclasses Academy. What I do is helping businesses, founder and business owner, to turn their story into asset for their business using our proprietary system, the story to asset framework. It's a system that we have developed over the years to help you master your story. Talking about excavating your story. What is your story? What is your experiences? Everything that have happened to you in the course of your being a human being, you can translate it into an asset that you can use in your business, or why not also in your personal development, because in this journey, we're always improving ourselves. We're never just set and everything is okay. We are continuously living. Things are going to happen to us, things that sometimes you don't even expect. But when they happen, how do you realign your direction where you are going so that it's not just a waste of time? So if you know your story, if you have a strong anchor that is always redirecting you whatever happened to you, because you are like an object that sometimes can suffer maybe the blowing of the wind. Sometimes it blow you to this direction, sometimes it might tend to blow you to this direction. But if you have a strong anchor, in this case, your story, your heritage, which is where you are coming from, refine into something that is solid, then whatever happened to you, even though the wind might blow you like this, or it might blow you like this, you will eventually recoil back to who you are, your direction, because you have an anchor that is strongly fixed on the ground. Being able to define where you are going, make all this easier for you. And that is why, apart from knowing your story, having a goal is absolutely very important. And that leads to the first tip I want to share with you. And I call it the head trap syndrome. A couple of years ago, I was having this conversation with a friend. We're talking about goal, and this should be like about 5-6 years now. And I was telling her, but what is your goal for this year? And she was saying, well, I have everything in my head. And I was saying, but if it's in your head, that is not really a goal. Of course, there are a lot of people out there who say, I have a goal for the year, or I have a goal for this season, or I have a goal for this term. Sometimes your goal can actually be a lifetime, or 3 years, or 10 years. I have goals that I'm continuously working on that I set out a couple of years ago. And every year I go out there to refine it and make sure that I'm realigning what I'm doing in line with this particular goal. But imagine I never set that goal on a paper. I only have it in my head. And imagine all the things that are happening to me as a human being every day. Of course, that goal will just move from my conscious state to my subconscious state, which is it remained dormant. I will never even be able to remember that goal because I didn't write it down. Okay, sometimes it's in my head, but my head is not supposed to be an instrument to store the information. It's supposed to be an instrument to continuously re-elaborate and work on the most urgent information, which is why you don't want to remain in your trap, or what I call the head trap syndrome. If you want to set goal, you need to take it from your head and put it on paper. Because if it is not written down, it is not real. It's just a wish, something that you hope that you will do one day. Now, writing it down is psychological warfare against your inner resistance, because all of us have our inner resistance. Maybe you want to do something, you want to do a particular thing, but you also have many other things that are just cropping up in your mind. Or maybe somebody is suggesting something to you, and you have a family, you have friends, they are all suggesting things to you. If you don't write down your goal, if you don't know exactly where you are going, because the moment you write it down, it becomes uncontested. But when you don't write it down, it becomes very vague in your head. So anything can actually distract you. By the time you have maybe a new suggestion coming from left or right, then of course, the one that you thought you were working on can actually be erased almost immediately because you don't have it down as a contested fact of where you want to go. What I mean is that you need 3 timelines working together. Tier 1 is your North Star, which is something like between 10 to 25 years from now. Who do you want to be? Who do you want to be remembered as? You need to know where you are going. That is about what I was talking about before. That you go into the future to imagine what you want to be, and you come back again to the present and continue to work on it. So now you are imagining that, okay, in 10 years from now, in 20 years from now, in 25 years from now, in 30 years from now, because you are going to be here 20 or 30 years from now, hopefully, because there is nothing settled in this world. But if you are going to be alive, now, you are going to be something. What do you want that thing to be? What do you want to be? What kind of name do you want to answer? What would you have accomplished? And when you accomplish this thing that you want to accomplish, how does it look like? You see, you don't want this to be designed by somebody and give it to you. You want to be the one that is designing this life that you want to live. Do you want to be a parent? Do you want to be the father or a mother of somebody? How do you want that to be? Do you want to be earning a certain amount of income? Do you want to have your own home? Do you want to have a business? How does that business look like? Do you want to provide solution to people? What kind of solution do you want to be providing for people? When people mention your name, what do you want to go on in their mind? These are things that you need to define yourself. Nobody is coming to do that for you. You need to really remember that you are the one that is doing that. Number 2 is a 1-year asset. What specific things are you building in 2026? You see, you cannot just go out there and say, I want something. You need to be specific. What exactly are you going to be doing in 2026? A couple of days ago, I had a conversation with my client, one of my clients. Then I said, okay, now this is what we are going to do. All these years, you have been working on your business. But this year, it is important that we focus on one thing only, which is mastering your sales. So in 2026, she's going to lay emphasis on how to sell her service well. Because if you don't ask people for money for what you are doing for them, they might not necessarily give you money. They might want you to do it for them. Therefore, it is important that you master how you sell your services to the people that you are serving. How do you sell it to them? So that they don't just see you as one who is just doing things for them. At one day, they will just call one day and say, hey, can you fix this for me? Can you do this for me? Of course, they need to know that you can do that. But they also need to know that this is your business, that for you to do this for them, there is a cost to it. Because you are a human being, you don't have an infinite amount of energy, an infinite amount of resources. One of the most important resources that you cannot replenish is your time. You have limited amount of time. So for you to be doing something for somebody just pick up a telephone and call you to do something for them, they need to know that there is a cost to it. And it doesn't depend on them to set the price for you. It depends on you. So this year, I said to this client, based on our analysis of your business, you need to master the sales. That is her goal. Of course, after we have elaborated on it, after she have a deeper thought on that, now that becomes her goal. And for that to be a goal, there are certain parameters that we need to set up. She's going to do this, do that, and do that on a repeated basis for the 52 weeks in a year. And by the end of the year, before the end of the year, hopefully, she will get the result that is shooting for. But of course, she already decided where she wants to go. She knows what she's working towards. In her 2026 blueprint, that is what she's aiming at, and it is clear. It's on paper. Therefore, it cannot be vague. And I believe that yours should not be vague too. What is tier 3? What do you need to do now? You see, we talk about 10 to 25 years, which is a long shot, no? Now we talk about a medium shot, which is the 365 days of the year. What are you going to do? And I gave you an example of my client that she wants to be working on refining her sales. But what about between now and the first 3 months? Between now and the first 3 days. Between this moment right now as we are talking, you see, your 10 to 15 years or 10 to 30 years will not amount to anything if you are not doing something within this year that is moving you towards that. And that will not amount to anything too if you are not doing any action right now. Because your day is made up of 24 hours, but your 24 hours is made up of 1 hour each. And every hour is made up of 60 minutes. But the 60 minutes is made up of every moment, every second. So if you want to do something that you are going to say, okay, in a year, I want to do this, I want to be able to achieve this, you need to start taking action every day. It doesn't just happen. Don't believe the idea that it will suddenly just appear, it will suddenly just happen. No, nothing just happened. Everything happens based on plan. You plan that you are going to get this at the end of the year, but in the first quarter of that year, what are you going to do? In the first 30 days of that year, what are you going to do? In the first 1 week of that year, what are you going to do? It is this repeated action, 1, 2, 3, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 5 months, 6 months, and 12 months of the year that eventually amount to something. Not suddenly 1 year, because 1 year is 12 months, but that 12 months is nothing without the now, the moment, the right now. What are you doing right now that is going to accumulate in a 12 months to amount to something? That is how it happened. So the purpose of setting the goal is so that you can break it down into smaller sections. You can work on the smaller section of it, a minute aspect of the goal. How do the animal eat elephant? Or how do you eat an elephant? Because an elephant is a huge animal. Now, how are you going to eat that? You see, a human being can actually eat the whole of elephant. You know how you're going to do that? You just take a bite from it, 1 bite at a time. Maybe you refrigerate the entire animal, put it in the fridge. Every now and then you go to the refrigerator, you cut a small piece of it. Before you know it, you eat an entire elephant. But if you look at an elephant now, a huge animal, and you say, how do you eat all of it? You can't just take the elephant, then you finish to eat it. It doesn't happen like that. You cannot do that. So just like the elephant, you have your go-to that in 20 years from now, I want to be this. I want to be known for this. You cannot just suddenly become that. You need to set up step-by-step process of how you want to get there. You are going to do this first. Then after this, you move to the other one. After that, you move to the next one. After that, you move to the next one. That is how you achieve your goal. It's a step-by-step process. It doesn't happen suddenly. Now let's focus on the asset. You see, the system faces the overwhelm because, like the example I was giving of the elephant, if you don't have a system of how you want to eat the elephant, you can actually be overwhelmed by the look of this big elephant that you are going to eat. But by the time you have a system now, it helps you to break it down. Your 1 year goal isn't a revenue number. It's an asset goal, book, program, or system. Maybe in your business, your coaching business, or your whatever is it that you are doing, you don't have a well-defined methodology to help your client. For you to be able to charge a premium service, you must have a well-defined methodology. Maybe you'll be doing all this for a year, but you say, this year, I'm going to define my methodology. You're going to have to do your research. You're going to have to talk to your client. You're going to have to review your internal working of how you get a client into your business to how you get it out fully satisfied by the service you render to them. So you need to define exactly what is a system that help you move somebody from not knowing anything about your process to getting achieving their goal. That is what you need to define, because when you define that system, you are able to eat an entire elephant. And when you finish that, you can eat another elephant again, because you know the process. You know the process that maybe, okay, let me give you the picture of the elephant so that it becomes very clear. That you go to the savannah, you take a gun and you shoot the elephant. The elephant is now dead. That is one process. But when the elephant is dead now, you don't just take the elephant and put it on your back and go away, because you cannot do that. The elephant is a huge animal. You need to chop it up into smaller pieces. That is another process. Now, those smaller pieces, what do you do with that? You cannot just litter the entire savannah with pieces of elephant now that you have it in your hand. Now you have meat in chunks, in smaller pieces. Where do you take it? You take it to your refrigerator. If you take it to the refrigerator, you need to process it before you take it to the refrigerator. You need to wash it and all of that. These are the different process. If you don't know that this is how it works for you, the next time you want to eat an elephant, you know what to do. Because now you have step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, to the end of the entire process, where you can basically go there to the refrigerator and cut a piece of elephant and eat. Okay, for those of you who, do you eat an elephant? I'm just using that one as an illustration to help you understand how it is for you to be able to take a very huge goal of building a house, 2-story building or 1-story building, and building it with one brick at a time. You can take a huge goal and chop it down into smaller sections, and you are executing on each session one at a time. By executing on one aspect of it at a time, you will eventually be able to execute the entire plan, no matter how big it is. You can basically level a mountain, but not by just looking at the mountain and will say, you don't have that strength, you don't have that power. But if you take it one piece at a time, one day there will be no mountain there anymore. That is the goal that we're talking about here. That is the process that we're talking about here. When you have a process of how it is done, now you can repeat it anytime. So you need a system. A system help you not to be overwhelmed, help you to get result, whatever is it that you are working on. Whether it is your 19 days sprint, or your 1 year goal, or your 10 years goal, or your 25 years goal, if you don't have a system, it's not going to work for you. I am sorry. Now, after you have defined your system, you know how it works, you know how to eat your elephant, you know how to chop down your big goal into smaller sessions so that you are executing on a smaller session of it one at a time. It is important that you work the work. Because if you don't work the work, nothing is going to happen. Believe me. If you just have the wish in your head, you take it down, you draw it out, it is clear, it's on paper. It's on paper. The reason you put it on paper is so that it can help you to work the work. Because without working the work, nothing is going to happen. Now, this is what I usually do in most of my writing, most of my books. Usually at the ending part of it, maybe productivity books and something like that, I will usually say, all what I've said to this point will make no meaning to you until you take action. I usually end it with that. Your action, the action you take, is what changes the thing. If you don't take action, nothing will happen. I can tell you the beauty of having a system. I can tell you the beauty of eating an elephant by taking it one bit at a time. But if you do nothing, all what I've said is just noise to you. Because your action is what makes the difference. You are going to have to work the work. You must be ready to do the work after you have the system. And that is fundamentally important. Maybe all what I've said here makes sense to you. All I'm telling you to do now is to go to aclasses.org/asset. Book your free call. Let's have this conversation on how to set your goal, or how to take your elephant, your big elephant, and eat it one bit at a time. Or how to take your mountain and break it down into smaller pieces so that you can execute on it one piece at a time.